This is no different than any normal time, but I feel like nervous or something.
Nah, I'm sure for the 18 people who are tuning in right now, it'll be
Sure, it's that many.
Fine. So,
I think we're live.
Are we live?
I think we are.
All right, so I guess we're live. So, yeah, awesome technology. Am I right, people? So welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast, special live from the Virtual Expo edition. I'm Sal Berry, and with me is Tim Parish. Some of you listen to our podcast, or you check out our respective YouTube channels, or you know my site, puckjunk.com, which Tim is also an able contributor to. Just a little bit of quick background. I've been blogging since 2007. That's when I launched Puck Junk because I love hockey cards, hockey collectibles, hockey culture. And then, Tim, how long have you been running your site, The Real DFG?
09, I think.
09? Okay. Yeah. And then we started doing a podcast in 2015. Did it for a couple of years, took a little bit of break, started it up strong again back in the fall. So, you know, if you've listened to that our podcast, or you've been to the Puck Junk site, or you've never been it and don't know who the heck we are, hey, come check out our booth later on after this podcast wraps up. We'll be there talking with people. I'm also selling hockey T-shirts. I got some shirts that are styled like vintage hockey wrappers because that's just what I love, vintage hockey. Also got a Blades of Steel shirt and some funny beer league shirts. So come check that out. I'm doing 25% off on hockey shirts. But here, we're not here to be a commercial. We're here to talk hockey and hockey cards and this show. So, Tim, you had a chance to
Everybody likes commercials.
Oh, right? Yeah, they fast forward through them. So, you had a chance to click around the show yesterday. What was your experience so far at the first ever Virtual Card Expo?
It was definitely interesting. That's for sure. Going from booth to booth, and you have just somebody sitting there. It's like you immediately walk in and you're face to face with the dealers and such. So that was kind of interesting, but being able to actually interact with people more on a one-on-one basis, because, you know, we had many people stop by the booth when I dropped in and out, had very lively conversations about different things. That was quite interesting. Haven't made any purchases or anything, but I found a couple people that were looking for stuff that I might have. So we may do something before the day's out. We never know.
You know, and I'm showing my age here because I'm going to reference a Sega Genesis game. No, not NHL 94, but I'm going to reference a Sega Genesis game that you may or may not remember. It was called Night Trap. It was actually pulled off the market because it was considered too violent. But and it kind of reminds me a little bit of this, because in that game, you have all these security cameras in like different rooms, and you're going from room to room and you're trying to stop the monsters. So you might go in a room and it's empty, and then you might go in another room and you just kind of pick up a part of a conversation and you go, okay, everybody in here safe. And then you go to another room and then you see like a monster trying to get in, and then you have to try to stop it. And I kind of felt like that a little bit, where like I'd go to one booth, be like empty, another booth, guy eating, another booth, then it just be in the middle of a conversation about something. And it's just like, it's just kind of odd in that way, but kind of fun also, you know. And then you kind of keep trying until you find something or find somebody, go, hey, I know that guy, or hey, they're talking about, you know, something that I like. So I've enjoyed that aspect, but most of the time I've just been, you know, sitting at my booth trying not to pick my nose because my camera's on.
You never know who's watching.
You never know who's watching.
Yeah.
So 6,300 people are now signed up for this virtual expo. And for those of you who are watching our podcast right now, we thought it'd be fun, you know, because we like to make fun of hockey cards. We love to collect hockey cards, but we also love the bad hockey cards. So I figured we would just look at some bad hockey cards for your enjoyment, but for ours as well. So somebody who came to our booth yesterday actually had a graded copy of this card. And so I figured I would just show it right there. So that's an 81-82 Dave Parish card. And this is a pretty terrible hockey card. I actually have a Puck Junk Bad Hockey Card Hall of Fame, and this is definitely one of them.
You look at that card, and, you know, it took all those years to get him on a card, and he's barely on his own card.
Yeah, it's a bad sign when you're not even on your own hockey card.
Right. I just wonder what he's looking at. I mean, I'm sure he's looking up at the scoreboard, but I imagine in my head a bird flew in, and he's watching it fly around. That's probably what he's doing.
I think it's kind of telling that the next season he spent in the minors. So it's like, if you're a hockey player and this is your hockey card where they barely get you on it, they're probably going to be in the minors next season. So, yeah. But, you know, on the bright side, what's that?
It was a telltale sign.
Bright side, though, he could sign this card and not cover up any of himself. There's enough room for an autograph.
There you go.
All right. So
that's what it was. He was anticipating that he was going to sign millions and millions of those cards.
So our next card. So back to what I said earlier about dealers, be careful because you don't know who's watching. This one's a classic right here.
Oh yes, the old Glenn Handy Hanlon.
Yeah, the less said, the better, right?
I'm not sure if he was trying to like conjure up his Michael Jackson impersonation, or all of us that males that have played sports, we know that sometimes you need an adjustment. So just caught him at the wrong time. I'm surprised quality control or whoever chooses the photos actually allowed that to get through.
I'm surprised that the person who buys the photos and said, yeah, we need photos for our Peachy set, that this actually made it through. Like they just said, yeah, all right, that's good.
That's something from a blooper reel. How it got on a card, I don't understand.
That's good. All right. So speaking of blooper reel, this one is another classic right here.
Oh, geez. Well, these just keep getting worse and worse.
Oh, yeah.
What is on his head? Is that a giant metal eraser?
You know, they call it the slang for a helmet is a bucket, and this really does look like a bucket.
That is a bucket. It's like a metal steel giant part of a barrel stuck on his head.
You know, what's sad about this, though, is that he was I have to turn and look at the name. Mel Bridgman was with the Flames, and he was traded to the Devils, and they painted on a Devils uniform, and they painted on a white helmet, I guess, over his Calgary Red helmet. But I wish they had painted in some more teeth for him too.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I guess they wanted to keep it more realistic. The less teeth, the better. Makes you seem more of a hockey player, I suppose.
So this one. Speaking of realistic or not realistic, Gary Nyland. Love that Hawks logo. It looks like if you're right-handed and you've picked up a pen and tried to write with your left hand, this is what I imagine drawing a Hawks logo with my left hand would look like. It would be, well, this is probably better than how I could draw with my left hand, but it's still pretty awful.
Well, you have to remember that they had draw your own logo contest at the local second grade, and that was the winning picture. So you can imagine how bad the other ones looked.
Did you draw this?
No, it wasn't me. Might have been a relative of mine.
Now, here's one off the beaten path. So this one needs a little bit of explanation. This is Wayne Grizzly from a set called Panini Action Freaks, which came out in 1992. So
all
what
right.
This set
now you're
was...
throwing something I've never seen before.
That's good. I got to keep you on your toes. What?
That just looks ridiculous.
Now, I got to tell you a couple of things about this set. First of all, it's like a cross between Garbage Pail Kids and Mutant League Hockey, if you remember that game. So there's all these ridiculous hockey cards. It's about these players who played this Atomic Hockey League, and there's like robots and monsters and gangsters and aliens. It's ridiculous.
Oh, there's a storyline to this?
There's a storyline to this, and I got to tell you, I was looking through these cards, and some of these cards are offensive. They were probably offensive back then, but some of them are offensive now. I mean, it's even more so offensive now that we're a little bit more of a woke culture. So I'm not even going to mention that. I mean, you could seek out the cards for yourself if you want to go to, like, say, Trading Card DB and, like, look at scans of some of them. Some of them make me cringe. I just go, ooh, how did that, who thought that caricature of that ethnicity would be acceptable to put on a card? So Wayne Grizzly here is actually pretty tame for the set, but obviously it's a riff on Wayne Gretzky.
I was going to say Jim in the chat had a good point. He said that it looks like someone who draws political cartoons drew that Gretzky.
That could be it. Oh yeah, we have a chat. That's awesome.
We do.
All right.
I'm watching. Don't worry.
Good. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that way I can just make sure my hair looks nice on camera. All right. So, so speaking of Gretzky, so we go from Wayne Grizzly, who's based on Wayne Gretzky, to Wayne Gretzky, but he's on a soccer card. This was in the can't remember if this was in a 93 or 94 Upper Deck World Cup soccer set. They made 2 sets that year, and they found a way to shoehorn in Gretzky, Jordan, Reggie Jackson, 1 or 2 others. But, they found ways to put other sports stars into the set. So, yeah, so here's Gretzky on a soccer card.
Doesn't he have one also where he's like kneeing a soccer ball up in the air or something?
No,
like that?
he's just standing. He's
or
got his
standing on
foot
it.
on it. Yeah, but see, I like this one better because it's such a bad photograph because Wayne looks bored, and also it looks like the sun is in his eyes. So if you're a photographer and you're photographing Wayne Gretzky, please don't have him facing the sun. Have the sun off to the side so he's not like doing this squint where he's like, I should have worn a hat.
Well, it's nice that they sprung for the Hanes extra thick cotton shirt for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. World Cup 94. Now, by the way, I'm just going to throw out there that I am actually a collector of Pierre Turgeon cards. So if you have this Pierre Turgeon card, or sorry, Sylvain Turgeon, oops, I can't even get my own joke straight. So if you have this Sylvain Turgeon card, I'll give you $0.25 for it. I'll be here till 6. If you have this particular Sylvain Turgeon card, let me know.
I can't understand possibly why anybody would be so excited about that card.
Yeah, so I think everybody knows that there's a little baby Patrick Kane here. He's like 4 years old, 5 years old on this card. And when that was kind of found out around 2007 when Kane entered the league, all of a sudden this went from like a nickel card to like a $25 card. Now, what's funny about this is that, remember, this is Sylvain Turgeon's card, and he's about to face plant. I mean, isn't it great when you look like a jackass on your own trading card?
Yeah, but I mean, he's been overshadowed by the fact that Kaner's in the back, so it's no longer his card. It's now Patrick Kane's card. As Al says, it's Patrick Kane's rookie card.
And that's the other funny thing about this is that Dale Hawerchuk, I believe it's Hawerchuk and McGillney are on this card. So there's 3 guys in uniform on this card, and yet Sylvain Turgeon is somehow the 4th most popular person on his own trading card, and there's only 3 hockey players on the card.
Yeah, that's one of those group gatherings.
So do you remember the TV show The Office?
Of course.
Okay, so you'll find this interesting. Kevin from The Office is actually on this next card a good 15 years before he would be in The Office.
Oh, geez. All right. I see what you're doing there.
You're offended because that's your favorite Yager card.
I'm not offended. It's just, I could see that Craig Patrick's kind of, that's a weird camera angle, so it makes him look like he has 3 chins. So
yeah, it's not.
It's not the most flattering photo from down underneath.
Reminds me, I got to sit up straight. Okay, so this next one is another classic.
Oh boy!
So This is Doug Gilmour.
I love that card.
Cosplaying as Woody from Toy Story.
It's Gaucho Gilmore.
I actually, it's funny because a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to get Doug Gilmour's autograph at the Blackhawks convention. And I was like thinking, what card should I get signed? What card should I get signed? And I'm like, wait a minute, there's only one obvious answer to that question. It's this card. So he signed it in silver. Nice. And I said to him, what's the story on this card? And he blurted out immediately. He said, Toronto made me do it. It was for a photo shoot. They said I was an urban cowboy.
Yes, Toronto. Toronto's to blame for most things. No offense to Toronto people.
Well, this one might be offensive.
You know who you are.
This one might be offensive to Toronto people.
What? Oh, yeah, the Muppet set.
Yeah,
the Muppet set.
Muppets Take the Ice from 1994-95 had the Muppets playing hockey. It also had them like weird revisions of logos. I wasn't going to show a bunch of them, but there's like one of like Kermit the Frog, but he has like Indian feathers and he's made to look like the Blackhawk logo. And one of like Animal is like the Sharks logo. He's biting the hockey stick in half. And then
the best one is the Penguins one where Gonzo is the conceited swan logo.
Yes, Gonzo is the penguin, but I thought this one of Miss Piggy covering herself with the Maple Leafs logo was
something.
Emblematic enough of just how ridiculous this set is. So then you got to ask yourself, I mean, is she wearing clothes behind the logo? And I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to know the answer to that. I'm just going to assume yes, she is.
Well, I mean, they are Muppets, so I wonder, are they actually anatomically correct? That's probably another discussion.
So
anyway.
Going from worst dressed to best dressed.
Oh, God.
So apparently, according to this card,
where do you keep finding these?
Oh, come on. We all know about this set.
These are supposed to be in the burn pile.
Yeah, well, so this is from 1992 Arena draft picks. Peter Forsberg. Apparently, he was a defenseman, according to the top of the card there. And fun fact about the set: so these guys didn't actually skate when they took these pictures. These pictures were taken in a locker room against a backdrop, and then they added in the ice shaving spray effect later on.
So that's not real. Oh, go figure.
No, but yeah, it's pretty terrible. I think it's funny because there's, this is when licensing really became a big issue where we can't show them in a Flyers uniform. Can we show them in their junior team uniform or their European team uniform? And some card sets did. But this one, they just said, screw it. Let's just put them in tuxedos because we don't have to pay anybody except the Men's Warehouse.
Is that who sponsored that, Men's Warehouse? Did they even exist back then?
I don't know. I was making a joke.
I know. I'm just taking it another step further.
No,
who else was in that set? Wasn't Pat Falloon in that set?
Pat Falloon's in that. You know who's?
Said that in the chat.
I'll tell you who's not in that set is Eric Lindros, and
yeah,
he was too smart for that back then. I mean, when you have a score rookie card that says future superstar at the top, you don't need to be in any other silly little sets of people pretending to do a hockey stop in a tuxedo.
They had a low budget. They couldn't afford a tux with a neck big enough for him. So,
it was too tall, too wide in the shoulders.
He needed the big and tall DXL version.
So this next set is one of my favorite sets. It's Fleer Metal Universe.
See, now here's where we're going to have a fight because I like these.
I love them.
Even though they're goofy and stupid, I think they're cool, and they harken back to that time where everybody loved outrageous, crazy, just loud in your face type stuff.
So this one is of Steve Ruchin. And so I got to tell you, there's something awesome about this card. Awesome and awesomely bad, right? It's so over the top because Steve Ruchin is a guy who probably would not have played in the NHL unless there was expansion. Sure enough, he's on the expansion Anaheim Mighty Ducks in a third jersey. On the third jersey, Wild Wing is busting through a wall. And on this card...
Yeah, that jersey, I was trying to get closer and see the other jersey.
Yeah, and so Wild Wing is busting through a wall, and Steve Ruchin is busting through the wall. And so this is such... My argument is that this is the most 90s hockey card ever made. Because if it's of an expansion team in a third jersey of a guy who probably would not have played unless there was expansion, and it's ridiculous, and also it's got shiny foil on it. So it's just... I challenge you to find a more 90s card than this one.
Yeah.
For those reasons that I explained.
Clementi in the chat said that was a Topps 2020 project before there was one. Which, yeah, that's very good to bring it to modern terms. Oh yeah, the floating eyeballs. That's classic.
Yeah, what 6-year-old says, "Oh, I really want a Curtis Joseph card where he's in a field of flying eyeballs, school of flying eyeballs."
Words don't even describe that.
So you remember Star Trek: The Next Generation? You remember Captain Picard?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you remember so Picard wasn't the only captain to be assimilated by the Borg. You also have Steve Yzerman here, captain of the Red Wings, but he has some Borg attachments, like an eye laser and I guess some some cuffs. Actually, those cuffs could come in handy because those forward gloves, they only go up to about your wrist, and so you're really unprotected between your wrist and your elbow pads. So that's actually pretty smart to have some bionic enhancements right between the padding.
No wonder why he was so good. He had bionic gauntlets that helped him score. So,
when Claude Lemieux slashes you in the conference finals above the wrists and below the elbow, you're protected.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So anyway, this next one is actually from an international set called Stadion. I guess that's Czech for stadium. So these were put into magazines like Sports Illustrated for kids. So Joseph Stumple.
What is even going on there?
I don't know. My mind goes in like three different directions when I see this card. I guess the most PG thing would be like, this is when you went to go see Lord of the Rings, Return of the King with your friends at the movie theaters, and then you got that big soda, and by the end of the movie, you're like, oh man, okay, now I really want this movie to wrap up so I could run to the bathroom, right? Because that big soda, that giant Pepsi, right? So you're waiting and you're waiting, but the problem is that Return of the King just doesn't end. It goes on. It's like the movie's 2.5 hours, and it's another 60 minutes of them just wrapping up like loose ends, like just loose ends in the story. So
wow, it sounds like every one of our podcasts.
So I don't know. You know what's funny is that I found the original photo. If you go to puckjunk.com and you search Joseph Stumple, I wrote about this card. I actually found the photo that this card used, and I found the play on YouTube of the goal that led to this celebration. And the thing is that he didn't score the goal. He didn't even assist on the goal. So I have no idea why he's making this ridiculous face.
Well, from the looks of it, he's plowing himself into another guy because that looks like another jersey in front of him.
Yeah, I believe it's Dean McAmmond. So
he smashed the dude into the, I guess since there's the hole in the plexiglass, that must be by the
photographer.
So
the photographer got the heck out of the way because that's where he would stick his lens, but he backed up in time, I guess, to not get a $2,000 camera lens.
That card. You know what that reminds me of? And I don't think they made a card of this, but they should have. When they did the celebrity hockey
All-Stars
during the All-Star weekend.
You're talking about the 75th anniversary captains, or celebrity.
That's what it was. I'm talking about the celebrity game that was played a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
And Chris Pronger basically took out Justin Bieber,
crushed him into the boards.
He crushed him into the boards and just kept smashing into the back of him. And they got that close-up shot of Bieber's face where he just looked just totally destroyed, and it was hilarious. And all you could see is the look on Pronger's face where he was just, I mean, he was laughing the entire time. Yeah, which is hilarious.
Well, Bieber was smiling too. I think he found it pretty funny.
Yeah, he took it in stride. I'm still waiting for the his goal scoring prowess against what I can't think.
Who, Bieber?
Just went dead. Yeah, he was supposed to try to score on the Blues goalie. Why I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Jake Allen or Jordan Binnington?
Binnington, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He challenged Binnington to a shootout thing. So.
Oh, that's cool. Well, anyway.
Thanks, Al. I couldn't think. My brain went dead for a second.
All right, so here's Teemu Selanne.
Oh, yes.
He's sitting in the bottom of a fish tank at the local aquarium.
Yeah, that's I think they photoshopped SpongeBob's TV while he was watching an interview. So that's pretty much what happened there. You could see a little pineapple behind him in the corner.
So this is actually a photo of the Jumbotron at the Pepsi Center, because when Teemu signed with the Avs, he was in Finland derp. And so they did a press conference, and they had him address the media, and he was on the Jumbotron at the Pepsi Center, and this is a photo of the Jumbotron. So, I mean, I get that in the game, with their in-the-game action set, wanted to have like the most up-to-date photograph of Teemu Selanne available, but I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't get more up-to-date than live via satellite on a closed-circuit TV.
That's true, but it doesn't make for a great photograph either.
No.
All right, and this one
card.
This one also doesn't make for a great photograph.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite, the Brian Pitten card, where the guy makes it to a card and you can't even show his face. It's just his back.
Yeah, when you like don't even show your own face on your card, you're probably not going to be play very long. I mean, I think Pitten was like the backup for a couple of games. I actually made a video about this card because I just have so much like angst about this card. And I said that this head looks like a brown head of lettuce. And so at the time he was playing on the Stockton Thunder in the ECHL, and his teammates found that video. And so, like, the next day, and I know this because the trainer emailed me, and he said, dude, thank you for that video. We had a blast watching it over and over. And the next day, the guys were gluing heads of lettuce to Pitten's locker because he said it looked like a brown head of lettuce on on his own card.
Kind of does.
Yeah, and you remember the Saturday Night Live song, Cool Guys Don't Look at the Explosion?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's looking at the explosion.
Exactly.
How are we doing on time here? I think we got time for one more, and then
we got like 4 minutes.
Oh, okay, 4 minutes.
Maybe 3.
Well, I got one more. I don't know if we'd have time for this one, but so remember David Kochi? He played for the Blackhawks. He played for the Avalanche. So David Kochi's pictured here with the Bulldog, but I'm struggling to figure out which one is Kochi and which one is the Bulldog.
Ooh, ouch! I hope he's not listening.
Hey, yeah, no, yeah.
I meant the Bulldog.
He's a big dude. He's sure the Bulldog's dead by now. Sorry, folks.
Man, you're just taking it south, aren't you?
Well, this is a Norfolk Admirals card, so this.
I was just going to say, what set is that from? Is that some like ASPCA set?
It's some ASPCA set that was issued with the Norfolk Admirals hockey team, and there were like different cards of players with dogs, and I don't have the full set, shocker, because I this is just one of those weird things that I found, and I'm like, oh my god, have to have it, David Kochi with the Bulldog, and I just, it's kind of a funny card because they're both making the same expression. But yeah,
exactly.
This was probably given out at an Admirals game. So anyway, yeah. So any last thoughts before we put a bow on this one?
No, I mean this has been a lot of fun, and if any of you are new to the podcast and haven't listened yet, this is kind of stuff we do. It's just two guys talking about hockey cards and chatting about ridiculous stuff. And if you enjoy veering off the road and going down weird paths in different directions, we do that a lot. So
do we? Yeah, I guess we do.
Yeah, pretty much. Because anytime something comes up, then we go down that path and start talking about, oh, you remember this card? Oh, you remember this card? And topics go from one thing to the next. So we appreciate everybody listening and giving us the support that they have, and keeping us motivated to put new product and new shows out there for you guys. And everybody that's been in here and chatting in the room, I appreciate it. It's been fun. Lots of good comments. So
if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you could find the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast on iTunes. Now it's called Apple Music, Google Play Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We're basically on all the major podcast providers. So Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. Also be sure to follow me on Twitter at Puck Junk, and follow Tim at Twitter at TheRealDFG. You can also check out the site puckjunk.com, and also our shop.puckjunk.com, or you can head on over to the booth to see some of these awesome shirts that I'm selling. And that's it for me. So thank you so much for listening. Tim, any last goodbyes?
Goodbye.
Bye.